Sightings goes inside Iran and uncovers the truth about a mass UFO encounter in 1976. You will hear from an Imperial Iranian Air Force general, a pilot, and an air traffic controller who have remained silent for more than 15 years. And you will actually see those people play themselves in a unique documentary.
At the beginning, we thought Iraqi are coming.
All of a sudden, I see this flying object just going round and round and round and going up and up and up. And I told my mom, I said, Mom, I just saw a flying saucer. I saw a UFO.
I was going to prepare myself to shoot it down.
It was seen by civilians, pilots, generals, and the unerring eye of Air Force radar. Reports ricocheted from the Shah to President Ford and back again. The film that you're watching recreates the day's events with the actual military personnel who witnessed the most compelling UFO encounter sightings has ever investigated. This film, seen here for the first time outside of Iran, was produced by the government and, in a bizarre twist of fate, would one day be used by the Ayatollah Khomeini to discredit the Shah.
When I saw this object is flying that fast, then I thought this is not a helicopter and this is not an aircraft. By that time I said, oh, should be some kind of UFO.
Radar readings taken inside the control tower at Mehrabad Air Force Base indicated the object was at least as large as a Boeing 707 tanker. The situation was serious. Brigadier General Nader Yousefi, base operations commander and the number 3 man in the Iranian Air Force, was notified immediately.
So I picked up the phone and it was a base commander. He wanted me to know they are going to have the airplanes to take off from his base for the scrambled mission.
General Yousefi authorized an immediate scramble mission. An Iranian Air Force F-4 Phantom jet fighter was ordered to engage the UFO and determine what it was. The F-4 approached Mach 1 in its pursuit of the UFO. At an altitude of 23,000 feet, the lead pilot reported in that he clearly saw a brilliant object 75 miles ahead of him. His actual radio transmissions are heard here publicly for the first time outside Iran. The F-4 was closing fast, but when the pilot got within 10 miles of the UFO, all onboard instruments failed. The F-4 retreated and then came in for a second pass. Again, the instruments failed. It was as if an electromagnetic force field was repelling the jet fighter. The pilots never got closer than 7 miles before they were forced to retreat.
It may suggest a deliberate kind of control mechanism, perhaps from the phenomenon to the airplane system itself, such that when the airplane is no longer a threat, it can change the radiation or whatever the energy is, whatever the effect is, and so that the systems on board the airplane come back to normal.
I put down my phone and I ran to my balcony to see if I can see that object. I saw a big star among the other stars, which it was at least twice as large as the normal stars. I asked the tower what happened, and he said he lost the communication again.
General Yousefi ordered a second F-4 to engage the UFO. The lead pilot was Iran's #1 top gun, Major Hussein Jafari.
It was around 12 miles. We lost communication, and I heard nothing from the pilots. So I was so scared what's going to happen and what happened to the pilots.
When the F-4 retreated, communication was inexplicably restored.
So I asked from the tower controller to tell them to continue their mission and see if they can get more information from the flying object.
Then Major Jafari nervously reported that a smaller UFO had emerged from the larger one and was trying to engage him.
and it was coming toward them. They tried to shoot him down. When they squeezed the trigger, it didn't work, and the trigger was inoperative. They couldn't shoot the missiles.
The pilots, fearing for their lives, tried to eject, but the eject button jammed. Every backup system was inoperable.
We understood that the eject instrument also didn't work. So in this case, I said to God, oh, God, save them.
The F-4 had no choice but to go into a negative G-force dive to escape this seemingly hostile UFO. When the fighter jet was 10 miles away from the larger UFO, the smaller craft flew off, and all onboard communication and instrumentation was restored to the F-4. Major Jaffari reported that the smaller UFO appeared to be landing on a mountaintop just southeast of Tehran. This landing was confirmed on the radar by the control tower. Brigadier General Yousefi witnessed it from his balcony.
He went down and landed on the ground. And now it is a communication between the mother ship and that small flying object. And it shows the lights between those two. It's connected. While they were landing, the tower was screaming on the phone to me, General, this flying object is following them and is going to land in Mehrabad. It is in the short final, and I see a big, big light with the glaring red, blue, and yellow lights.
The so-called mothership tailed the F-4 into Mehrabad Air Force Base and flew low over the runway. As it performed what was described as a low-altitude flyby, power at the Air Force Base went out.
That was strange for us, and we asked each other why the power went out for some seconds.
Frankly, I don't have any explanation for that, but I will say that there are other cases, well documented, where power has been disrupted on the ground over fairly large areas during UFO presence.
After the flyby, the craft roared off toward the west, as if to say, mission accomplished. Search parties were dispatched to the supposed landing site of the smaller UFO, while the tower tried to track the outbound mothership. It was spotted 25 minutes later over the Mediterranean by an Egyptian Air Force pilot. A report sightings was able to confirm with the Egyptian embassy. Then, over Lisbon, Portugal, the pilot, crew, and passengers of a KLM Airlines flight reported seeing the UFO as it sped westward to the Atlantic. That was the last sighting we know of to date. When the pilots who had encountered a UFO over Tehran returned home, their ordeal was only beginning. They were shocked to see how their UFO confrontation was being distorted and trivialized by a military-controlled press.
We knew the capability of the other countries and their airplanes' capabilities. It could be a spy airplane. I really have no idea, but maybe from some other world.
The day after the otherworldly encounter over Tehran, it was front-page news in both the Farsi and English-speaking newspapers throughout Iran. At the same time, Iranian and U.S. officials were meeting behind closed doors.
This particular case is interesting from another standpoint, and that is the involvement of the American government.
General Sabahat, now in exile in California, was the vice commander of the 2nd Tactical Fighter Base. He told Sightings that the day after the UFO event, he attended a top-secret meeting between the Imperial Iranian Air Force and the U.S. Air Force.
General Secord, which was the head of the U.S. Air Force and our Air Force, probably commanding officer and operation, pilots, approach control of civil aviation.
Hussein Parouzi, an air traffic controller at Mehrabad Air Force Base, was also present at that meeting.
When they heard our report and the report of the pilot, they concluded that no country is able to have such a technology. And all of them believed it should be a strange object from other spheres.
I collected the reports and I made my own observations as a report to my higher echelon, and we sent this report through the Joint Chiefs of Staff to the Shah's intention.
They collect all of those information and send it to the United States by General Secord, because he was the head of the U.S. Air Force in our countries.
The secret meetings continued, and rumors of a calculated disinformation program seemed to be borne out by the changing face of Tehran newspaper headlines. Day 1. Day 2. Day 3. Day 4. On day 5, the press reports the entire incident is a hoax.
I don't know why the appropriate authority prohibited me to interview with the press or news reporter. I don't know why this information is prohibited from the public.
Somehow the government doesn't want to open up to the public. I don't know why, but...
Despite media dismissals of the event as a joke, our sources report that a full-scale military investigation continued to search for answers.
I asked from the pilot of the F-4 to go and to look after that flying object. He knew where it landed. And when they flew and the Army personnel, they were in the area, they couldn't see anything.
The general who headed that search still lives in Tehran and denied repeated requests for an interview. But others who were present told sightings that no physical evidence of a UFO was found on the mountaintop where so many had reported seeing a small craft landing. However, for the first 3 days after the incident, there were serious electronic anomalies in the area.
The beeping sound that was picked up could be one of a number of things. It might be technology. In fact, depending on the frequency stability and interfrequency pulse and other factors like that, it very likely is a technology of some sort, as opposed to a natural phenomena.
And then there is this. An American Defense Systems Program satellite operated by the U.S. Defense Department picked up signals from an unidentifiable technology on the same night the Iranian Air Force was scrambling over Tehran. Experts from DSP are revealing this information for the first time.
We saw something.
The DSP satellite is, in fact, a spy satellite that monitors airspace in military hotspots. On the night of September 19, 1976, the satellite was scanning the skies over Tehran.
That's an independent confirmation that an event of some type occurred at that time and place. What it was, we don't know.
Sightings asked the experts to explain the meaning of 238 scans, possible SR, but they told us that information was top secret.
Right now, all we can do is say, yes, there was something there.
Certain agencies, including the CIA, have gone on record as having information on this particular case.
In fact, Sightings has obtained these documents from the United States Air Force Security Service that confirm our government's involvement in the UFO investigation. And, according to this Washington Post article, the investigation was still in full force as late as 1979.
Now, what does that say? It says that somebody thought this case was very, very important when it happened. Why, after this many years, that's still important, I think is a fundamental question. And the American people deserve to know what happened.
Dr. Richard Haynes continues to investigate pilot UFO confrontations as part of his own Project Delta. For the past 30 years, Dr. Haynes has interviewed more than 100 civilian and military pilots who claim to have encountered UFOs. Sightings recently reported on a 1976 confrontation between the Iranian military and a UFO. Well, since that report, 2 new witnesses have come forward to describe their roles in the historic event. After 20 years of silence, the former deputy commander and a lieutenant general in the Imperial Iranian Air Force are finally speaking out.
As recreated in this Iranian television documentary, on September 19, 1976, an enormous UFO was tracked across Iran by the Imperial Air Force. In an exclusive Sightings interview, former Imperial Air Force Generals Nader Yousefi and Mahmoud Sabahat described the tense scramble mission in which an F-4 fighter jet chased and attempted to engage the UFO. Now, for the first time in nearly 20 years, General Amir Kamyabipur, the second highest ranking officer in the Shah's Imperial Air Force, and his deputy commander, General Abdullah Azerbaijan, spoke exclusively to sightings about what they believe happened on that historic night in 1976.
I had a statement from the pilots, I had statement from General Yousefi and also control tower, and having those calls from a civilian around the town, I was convinced that was a UFO. So this is how we went into investigation.
As far as my experience is concerned, it can be American airplane, it can be Russian, it can be any technology to be like that, except some super technology, which is only UFO.
General Azerbaijan conducted a thorough investigation into the bizarre events of September 19th. He sent his report to the Shah's military liaison and to Iran's U.S. military advisors. For the first time, he reveals what he told the U.S. military.
The highlight of the information that we gave to the U.S. government was, number one, we told them that the high rate of crime and high rate of extradition that we saw from the UFO was something which was not existed those days. Number two, this jamming capability to jam such a wide range of frequencies.
Only a few government documents related to this incident have been declassified, but independent data corroborating Azerbaijan's account have been uncovered. A United States reconnaissance satellite was monitoring the skies over Iran on September 19, 1976, and recorded the movement of an unidentified flying object. Sightings has learned that the top-secret notation 238 scans indicates that the UFO event lasted more than an hour. The meaning of possible SR is still classified.
I don't have any doubt about UFO. UFO exists, and they're trying to find some way to get contact with our world. That is my feeling, and I am positive.
Important information about the Iranian UFO incident may be found in military files in Tehran. But since the ouster of the Shah, the military personnel in this report have been stripped of any privileges or access they were entitled to in Imperial Iran. Until further notice, the door to this case is closed.